So this could be used as a pre-workout or just something to drink, refreshing drink of some kind. I like coffee, I like milk, and I like sweet taste. So, I mean, most of you probably like that. But what you do is you just add Nescafe or some sort of, instant coffee. And you call this like a hyphy milk rather than a hyphy mud, because I'm not adding pop. But I am adding some sugar here. Forgive me for that. Usually I'd use stevia, but I just ran out of stevia. But you add some sort of sweetener. You just heat the water up and mix it up a little bit, just so the hot water basically mixes the coffee and the sweetener together. And then from there you mix in some milk and some ice cubes, and it's great. It tastes like a little bit like an iced coffee from Starbucks or Tim Hortons or whatever coffee shop you use. It doesn't taste exactly the same, but it tastes pretty good. And because it's been 30 degrees and over where I'm training right now and I'm working out in the garage, this is actually something I take in there with me just to keep me cool. So try it out and let me know what you think. Enjoy. So I recently had a subscriber ask me, why do I train high reps all the time? Is that the best way to build muscle and for bodybuilding and everything? And I did lots of videos on this, repetitions, how many should you do, all that sort of thing. But ultimately, this is an individual choice based on what your body is telling you at the time, okay? So for me, when I do heavy weight and I start feeling like my joints tweak or maybe my joints become more the weak link in the movement, then I know that I'm either working out too heavy or I need to adjust my technique, okay? Or sometimes both, it's not always just one or the other. And I found that I gain more muscle and I am able to stay in the gym for longer if I train in a moderate rep range. So this will go up and down. Sometimes I'll train in a 5 rep range or 8 rep range. Sometimes I'll train in 15 rep range, sometimes 20, 25 rep range. And you'll notice that more of the compound movements like deadlifts or, bent over rows, not that I do deadlifts from the floor or anything, but when I am working in the deadlift range or if I'm doing squats and stuff, I will tend to stay in a little bit of higher rep range just because those movements are more dangerous on the joints if you move wrong or if something's out of balance, right? So how do I make this decision? Well, I make the decision to work out heavier if my body feels like the groove is perfect. Like I'm not feeling any sort of tweak or any joint pain, or the muscles aren't feeling like they're pulling funny, or if it feels like I'm out of balance a little bit, that I won't go heavy, So it's all about finding the perfect groove and everything feeling like it's good, Now, if things don't feel perfect, then I will stay a little bit higher rep range. Or sometimes I'll stay in the higher rep range if I've already trained heavy on that body part or that movement, say a few days earlier or that week, right? So I do tend to train heavier once in a while. So I'd say for a body part, it's probably, especially like say if it's squats, like for legs, or if it's bench press or bent over row, there are certain movements that are more dangerous for a person depending on their injury history and that sort of thing. So if, say, bench press, you've pulled a pec or if you've hurt your shoulder, it would probably be a lot harder for you to have as many frequent heavy days. You'd probably need a little bit more rest or to find your groove. And, that's the thing that you have to find out for yourself, what feels right. It's not always about what will gain you more muscle. Usually what will feel right and gain you more muscle, it's like a balance between the two. It's not that you just say, okay, I have to do this many reps because that's what somebody said, that's how I'm going to gain the most muscle, even though I tear my shoulder to pieces and I wreck my back and whatever, because, once again, you're built subtly different than the person that's talking to you and giving you advice. So that's where personal training has come in. That's where people actually have personal trainers. And some trainers are better than others, of course, but a personal trainer will find what works for you and watch what's happening in your body at that time and then adjust your technique, adjust your rep range, adjust sometimes your diet, your sleep, all these sorts of things, these parameters to make sure that you're not injuring yourself and that you're making steady progress, right? So yeah, I do lift heavy when my body feels that it is appropriate, right? But I don't feel the obligation to lift heavy all the time. Once in a while, once every 2 weeks sometimes for a body part is good enough. And then the other workouts, I'm in the 15 rep range, 20 rep range, right? And the fast twitch fibers and the power fibers, they take a longer period of time to recover. So it seems to be perfect by the time I come around to a really heavy set again. And second of all, the joints take longer to recover, and there is more stress on the joints when you use heavier weight, right? And that's not including the nervous system load as well. You know, nervous system takes a lot more of a beating if you're squatting 500 pounds as opposed to 300 pounds, okay? So yeah, so the other thing to consider too, if you're going to be training heavy, is that the heavier you go, you don't necessarily have to train to failure, because if you're training to failure when you're in the 4 rep range, 5 rep range, you're going to be in a little bit more of an injury risk category, right? You know, I know lots of guys over the years, they've torn a pec or torn something really seriously because they're trying to go for that 1 rep max on the bench, and everything felt fine, and then whappo, you know, something tears, right? It doesn't happen all the time, but if you are a person that feels the need to go excessively heavy and you can only get 1 rep and you're always testing out your maxes, that is most likely when you will get injured. So yeah, I hope this answers a little bit of your questions about why I train, you know, a little bit higher rep, and yeah, find what works for you, and happy training.